Good afternoon. I'd like to once again welcome members of the public to this open meeting, but also request that our audience respect the meeting space of the Board of Governors and remain in the audience section so that the university is able to efficiently conduct its business and ensure other members of the public can hear the proceedings. Thank you. If any of today's speakers have handouts for the board members, please provide them to Associate Secretary Malillo next to the podium when you are called upon to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. It is my pleasure to welcome the following Senate representatives to the Board of Governors. Mr. John Oliver, welcome. Professor Rachel Kay, welcome. And Mr. Abhishek Koshlikar, welcome. Who will serve as student representative to the Board of Governors this year. We are very glad to have you here. Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask Marge Derrick, Mary DiMartino, and Heather Taylor to approach the microphone podium. And I'm going to call on the Senior Vice President General Counsel and a member of the Bar of the State of New Jersey, John Hoffman, to administer the oath of allegiance and office.
Sure. Okay. Are you happy with swearing as opposed to affirming? Okay. I state your name.
I, Heather Taylor,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in
and to the governments established in
the United States and in this state,
the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
And that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of member of the Board of Governors of Rutgers,
of member of the Board of Governors of Rutgers,
the State University of New Jersey,
the State University of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
It is now my privilege and great pleasure to call upon Bob Borchie, the 20th President of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Bob?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last summer, at the completion of my first 6 years as Rutgers president, I accepted an invitation from this board to extend my time in office for 2 additional years. Today, I officially confirm to the Board of Governors my intention to step down from the presidency at the conclusion of that 2-year period, which will be June 30th, 2020. Let me say that serving as your president is a tremendous honor. It's been my privilege and pleasure to lead this community during the past 7 years, and I'm sure that that will continue to be the case during my 8th and final year. I couldn't be more grateful to the entire Rutgers community for all that we've accomplished together since 2012. We've charted a vision for the university, increased the academic strength and diversity of our student body, improved the student experience, attracted new cadres of world-class faculty, established a strong and growing health science presence, and changed the culture of philanthropy here at this institution. We're not the same old Rutgers. We are now recognized as a national research and academic powerhouse that each day improves lives in New Jersey and around the world. But let me say this, as a great university, these are the characteristics. A great university is one that builds on its strengths and its past accomplishments and responds nimbly to opportunities and challenges in a rapidly changing academic and political environment. And during the coming year, my leadership team and I will remain fully engaged in working with you and for you on the tasks we face today and on the opportunities that will certainly appear tomorrow. I look forward to the continued support of the university boards and the university community during the coming year, and I will personally lend whatever assistance I can in seeking the next president of this great institution. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few remarks about Bob. This board is delighted with Bob Barczy's leadership. We are grateful that he will lead Rutgers for an 8th and final year before assuming his university professorship, member of the faculty. 3 words sum up Bob Barczy's presidency at Rutgers, and those words are, "and he succeeded." He arrived at Rutgers in September of 2012, many of you remember, and immediately was charged with the task of overseeing the largest ever institutional integration in American higher education and the creation of RDHS. He took on the task, and he succeeded. He developed the first strategic plan for the university in more than 15 years and declared that Rutgers would be widely recognized as being among the finest research institutions in the nation. And he succeeded. He saw an opportunity to keep New Jersey's best and brightest students here in New Jersey. And he succeeded by conceiving the Honors College, securing the funding, participating, I'm not making this up, in the design of the building. Just imagine the blueprints spread out on Bob's desk, and Bob with his, I mean, if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't have believed it, but it's true. And welcoming more than 2,000 students between the fall of 2015 and this past year. 2,000 students who could have gone to school anywhere and chose Rutgers. He heeded the call to dramatically improve our fundraising and to foster and lasting relationships with our state and federal government and our other partners, DevCo, among others, okay? And he succeeded. He sought to improve access and affordability for all students, and he succeeded. For the 5 years prior to his arrival, tuition at Rutgers had increased to a level of 3.9% per year. Over the course of President Barczy's tenure, the average annual tuition increase has been 2.37%, and for many of our neediest students, the net out-of-pocket tuition costs at Rutgers have actually been 0. He saw the urgent need to expand, modernize, and update our physical plant to meet the needs of the students who study here, the researchers who discover here, and the residents of this great state who turn here for solutions, and he succeeded. President Barczy, under your leadership, Rutgers' national rankings have improved dramatically. Research at Rutgers has expanded. Our student academic profile has enjoyed dramatic improvement, and the physical face of Rutgers forever has been changed. President Barczy, you have our profound thanks for your leadership of Rutgers, for your commitment to lead the university to further success in the coming academic year. Hear, hear.
Nothing will change tomorrow. We'll come into the office as eager to work as we have been in the past, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate your comments and how much I appreciate what you all just did. It really makes me emotional just to have that happen. It was very, very meaningful. The one thing that I have to say that doesn't come across in a list that Mark just made, or my brief comments, is the fact that when people ask me what I think my most important contribution to Rutgers has been, it's not the buildings, it's not the Honors College, it's not the philanthropy, It's not the student experience. It's not any of those things. The most important thing that I think I've been able to do is to recruit a cadre of academic leaders to this institution that is second to none. And by that I mean our chancellors and the deans that serve for them, our senior leadership team here. They're unbelievable, outstanding. And that's what makes it work. So all the things that Mark gets up and says, I'm sitting here saying, yeah, well, he did that and he did that. You know, I know who did it. And I want everybody in this community to recognize who did it. And that's the senior leadership, the academic leaders, and the staff working with the faculty and the students and the staff of the university. That's how it happens. That's the 9 yards. So I wanted to make sure that I got that in there. Thank you very much. We are absolutely going to be full speed ahead for the next 12 months.
Thank you, Bob. I call on Chairman Richard Roper of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs for his report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Academic and Student Affairs met by teleconference on July 9th. We began our meeting with Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences Chancellor Brian Strong, advising the committee that the Rutgers School of Nursing is proposing the creation of a 30-credit standalone post-master certificate program for pediatric nurse practitioners. He explained that these courses are already offered by the Doctor of Nursing program, so this certificate would be taking existing courses and repackaging them as a certificate program. Dr. Strong noted that this program would offer in-person classes on the RBHS Newark campus with 30 credits and 540 hours of clinical time. He stated that it is conservatively estimated that 3 to 5 students would enroll in the certificate program per admission cycle, and that the program is supported by the dean, faculty, and faculty chairs. Chancellor Strong then presented Dr. Wei Jing Zong to be appointed to the John L. Colazzi Endowed Chair in Pharmacy at the Ernest Mario School of Pharmacy. Dr. Zong is currently a tenured professor in the Department of Chemical Biology, performing research in cancer with a focus on self-stress response and metabolism. Dr. Strong added that he has 4 funded grants from the National Cancer Institute, impactful publications, and is an alumnus of the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences from the former University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. The committee agreed to endorse the recommendation and pass on to the Board of Governors for approval the resolution under the consent agenda. The committee also agreed to recommend to the Board of Governors for approval the following resolution naming Professor Ho-Chang Amiramar D. as a distinguished service professor, if I may, Mr. Chairman. The resolution reads,
Thank you.
whereas the nomination of Professor Ho-Chang Amir Ahmadi as distinguished service professor by Yano Takora Iya, Dean of the School of the Edward J. Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy, has been endorsed by Christopher J. Malloy, Chancellor of Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and Barbara L. Lee, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, and approved by Robert L. Barchi, President of the University. And whereas Professor Amir Ahmadi has been acclaimed by nationally distinguished scholars for his contributions to improving United States-Iran relations through promoting world peace and humanistic studies, contributions further evidenced by his establishment of the Center for Iranian Research and Analysis and his founding of the American Iranian Council, AIC, a nonprofit research organization devoted to improving dialogue and understanding between the peoples of Iran and the United States, and his invitations to speak before several federal departments and agencies, including the White House National Security Council, United States Department of State, National Intelligence Council, United States Central Command, and the United States Military Academy at West Point. And whereas Professor Amir Ahmadi has been internationally acknowledged for his scholarly and public policy contributions to United States-Iran relations, including his AIC white paper for the Obama administration, his receipt of numerous grants and awards from institutions such as the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, the United States Department of Education, and the New Jersey Office of the Secretary of Higher Education, his invitation by the Norwegian Nobel Committee to observe the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony for the Iranian Nobel laureate Shirin Ebadi in 2003, and his work with the Aji Khan Foundation in helping rebuild after earthquake disasters and improve living conditions in rural areas of Southwest Asia. And whereas on July 9, 2019, the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs of the Board of Governors endorsed the naming of Hushang Amir Ahmadi as a Distinguished Service Professor and recommended approval by the Board of Governors. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Governors of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, names Hushang Amir Ahmadi as a Distinguished Service Professor effective July 13, 2019. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roper. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution is passed. I'm now going to call on Dean Banu Thakurida of the Edward J. Blasting School of Planning and Public Policy for brief remarks prior to Professor Amir Ahmadi being presented with the resolution. Dean.
Thank you very much. We are very honored to have Dr. Amir Ahmadi be a Distinguished Service Professor in the Edward J. Blasting School of Planning and Public Policy. Thank you also very much for that excellent introduction. I need say no more except that Dr. Amir Ahmadi has played a very pivotal role in building links to foreign affairs in general and with Iran and the Middle East in particular. And we are very honored to recognize the impact and contribution that he has had on many top U.S. policymakers, as well as his work being recognized internationally. So thank you very much.
Just say thank you to all. I am honored to receive this award, and it has been a hard work, and I continue to be very positive about what I am doing and I will be doing. Thank you all. I do appreciate it very much.
As a university professor, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Whereas University President Robert L. Bargy recommends Dr. Christy L. A. Lindemeyer for a university professorship, and whereas Dr. Lindemeyer has served on the faculty of Rutgers University since 2011 and has served as Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Camden, from July 2011 until her return to the faculty in January 2019. And whereas Professor Lindemeyer has worked tirelessly to bring her vision of student-centric learning to the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Camden, including leading the drive for a new general education curriculum that focuses on providing cross-disciplinary skills to students and resulted in new multidisciplinary programs such as digital studies, health sciences, gender studies, and global studies. And whereas Professor Lindemeyer helped establish the Leadership Institute as a resource to attract and prepare ambitious undergraduate students for success, created 2 new graduate programs, a Master of Arts in Teaching and a Master of Science in Forensic Science, the first forensic science degree of its kind in the state of New Jersey, and was instrumental in the pursuit of new facilities, including state-of-the-art science laboratory space on the Camden waterfront, the opening of the Nursing and Science Building, and programming for the forthcoming John Joint Health Sciences Center, and whereas Dr. Linda Meyer is a prominent scholar in the area of childhood, public policy, and social entrepreneurship, who has written, edited, or co-edited 4 books and published numerous articles, book chapters, internet essays, and encyclopedia articles, has served on the editorial board of the Journal of the History of Childhood and Youth, and H Childhood, among others, and has given numerous invited lectures and presentations. And whereas on July 9, 2019, the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs of the Board of Governors endorsed the naming of Christy A. Lindemeyer as University Professor and recommended approval by the Board of Governors. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Governors of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, that Christy A. Lindemeyer be hereby appointed as University Professor with all the rights and responsibilities implied and understood by that title, effective July 1, 2019. I move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Resolution carries. I will now call on Chancellor Haddon to make remarks prior to Professor Lindemeyer being presented with the resolution.
Chris? It is my pleasure to say a few words this evening about Chris Lindemeyer. And I won't repeat everything that's been said, but I want to highlight some of the wonderful and extraordinary things that have gone on at our campus because of Chris's leadership. Her leadership was transformative. Her vision of student-centric learning experience generated new programs that strengthened our creative thinking skills of our students and prepared them for success in their careers and throughout their lives. She's led the drive for a new general education curriculum that focuses on providing cross-disciplinary skills for our students. And she includes multidisciplinary programs such as digital studies, health sciences, gender studies, forensic science, and many, many others that enabled us to leverage existing campus scholarly strengths to deliver new opportunities for our students. During her deanship, the Honors College saw its enrollment exceed to a record 500 students, and it was just a wonderful opportunity to see that growth. The master's and doctoral programs at Rutgers Camden continued to grow thanks to her focus on graduate education. She established 2 master's programs, and the forensic science program has been said to be one of the first in this country. In May 2018, the PhD Childhood Studies celebrated its 10th anniversary, and that's a milestone because it has been the first doctoral program at Rutgers University Camden, and one that patterns many, many programs across the world, in fact. It was Rutgers Camden's world-class faculty that has been strengthened by Chris's leadership. She hired more than half of them, and they have become extraordinary because of her support of them. Dean Lindemeyer has positioned Rutgers University Camden for sustainable growth for the years to come. We are grateful for her leadership, and she is truly a valued member of our growth-focused university. On behalf of Rutgers Camden, I thank the board for recognizing Chris Lindemeyer's exceptional contributions to our university with this well-deserved honor. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to thank the board for this honor and also for the honor of being able to serve as Dean of the proud School of Arts and Sciences at Rutgers Camden. And we look forward to a bright future as well. And I certainly want to acknowledge Dr. Barchi for his support of Rutgers Camden during my tenure. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
That concludes the report of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next up will report of the Committee on Finance and Facilities, of which I was the chairperson until June 30th. And in the absence of the new chairperson today, I'm going to give the report. I will say that the committee is remarkably well-staffed by our Chief Operating Officer, Tony Calcato, and by Mike Gower, who is on the phone from overseas. Otherwise, he would be here today. The Board of Governors Committee on Finance and Facilities plays a crucial role in the university's annual budget process. The proposed budget was presented in detail by the university administration and discussed by the committee at its July 9 meeting. Committee members analyzed and questioned the budget assumptions in order to understand and endorse the proposed budget and the administration's recommendations for tuition, fees, room and board rates for the upcoming academic year. Kathy Detloff, Vice President for Finance and Budget and Associate Treasurer of the University, presented for endorsement the proposed resolution to approve the university's consolidated budget of $4.6 billion for fiscal year 2019-2020. She explained the key revenue and expense items that resulted in variance from the third quarter forecast for fiscal 2018-2019. In addition to the total university budget, the presentation included detailed budget presentations for each of the 4 chancellor units and for central administration. I now ask Ms. Detloff to review the key points from the budget presentation.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chair. We will begin today by walking through how Rutgers increases in tuition and fees compared to its peers over the last 5 years. As we go through each of these slides, the amounts noted refer to annual tuition and fees before any discounting, or what I typically refer to as the sticker price. At Rutgers, we have different sets of peer groups for each of our campuses. However, the one common group we compare ourselves to is the other senior public institutions of higher education in the state of New Jersey. Over the last 5-year period, each of our campuses averaged a 2.1% increase in tuition and fees, which is lower than the majority of our New Jersey peers. For New Brunswick, we look at both the public universities in the Association of American Universities as well as our Big Ten peers. For the AAUs that are public, our 5-year increase at 2.1% puts us close to the middle of this group of universities. Within the Big Ten, our 5-year average increase of 2.1% puts the university in the middle of this peer group as well. At Rutgers University Newark, we have a different set of comparators than New Brunswick. These institutions have similar attributes to our Newark campus. As you can see, at a 2.1% increase over the last 5 years, it puts us in the lower half of this chart. As with our other campuses, Camden has its own set of peers as well. A 2.1% 5-year average increase is lower than the majority of the schools in Camden's peer group. Here we look at a 3-year history of tuition, fees, room and board at each of our different campuses. For each campus, these numbers represent the room and board that is most common for first-time, first-year students. Similar to the university at large, our housing and dining entities are challenged with the desire to keep costs down while providing excellent products and services to our students, while costs are increasing for things such as construction, food, and labor. So thus far, all the information presented for all the schools has referenced gross costs. These costs are easily comparable from school to school, as these are the rates that are publicly reported. However, as many of you know, a great number of Rutgers students do not pay full price. New Jersey is considered a high tuition, high aid state. Therefore, there are many ways, as noted on this slide, that Rutgers students and their families are able to reduce out-of-pocket costs, or what they actually pay. I am very happy to report that last year, not only did a greater number of Rutgers students receive aid, but the average award to each of these students was higher across all campuses. This chart shows the percentage of Rutgers students who receive need-based aid, loans, and work study, as well as the percentage of students receiving different types of merit aid. These sources are not mutually exclusive, with many of our students receiving many types of assistance to help with tuition. This slide looks at it from a student level. More than 77% of our undergraduate students receive some form of aid. So for example, although total costs in New Brunswick are defined as almost $30,000 annually, the average price to a first-year in-state student who receives aid is $16,295. That is only 54% of total costs. In Newark, the percentage is 45%, and in Camden, that percentage is 47%. Here we take it a step further and we look at the average cost for tuition and fees for those students whose family income is less than $48,000 who are commuting. In New Brunswick, these students only pay an average of $120 toward tuition and fees. On our other two campuses, tuition and fees are entirely covered with funding remaining for the student to cover other costs such as books, supplies, and transportation. Here we demonstrate the university's commitment to its students with the lowest family incomes. This slide refers to total cost, so it includes tuition, fees, room and board, and other expenses where applicable. We look at our students with family incomes less than $30,000 and those with family incomes between $30,000 and $48,000. For both cohorts of these students, their net price after aid has virtually remained flat. Using all this information, as well as many other factors, university administration proposes a 2.9% increase in tuition and fees, as well as a 2.9% increase in housing and dining costs. This increase allows the university to continue to provide excellence in education and services while providing access to all of our students. In New Brunswick, tuition and fees for an in-state arts and sciences student go from $14,974 in fiscal year 2019 to $15,407 in fiscal year 20, and that is before any aid is applied. For a student living on campus, room and board goes from $12,706 to $13,075, bringing the total cost for a resident student to $28,482. Similarly, the 2.9% increase in Newark brings tuition and mandatory fees to $14,826, and for those who choose to live on campus, room and board adds $13,929 for a total cost of $28,755. Finally, in Camden, a 2.9% increase brings tuition and mandatory fees to $15,264. Together with housing and dining, the total cost will be $27,955. As we develop the budget, where tuition and fees is our largest revenue source, it's important to note that the largest component of our expense budget is by far compensation costs, comprising 65% of the university's budget. When salaries are increased, that has a compounding impact year over year and therefore requires a permanent funding source. We cannot use one-time funds, such as an unrestricted net position, to support these increases, on top of the fact that the funds in our unrestricted net position are committed to critical one-time university initiatives. We need to identify a source of permanent funding, as one-time funds cannot be considered a permanent source. So here are the facts and numbers. For every 1% increase in salaries that are supported by tuition and fees, it requires a 1.3% increase in net tuition and fees. So for a 3% increase to salaries, it would require a 3.9% increase in tuition if all other things were equal. In the fiscal year 20 budget as proposed, since the increase was not 3.9%, but 2.9%, the university had to repurpose over $30 million of its budget to meet the salary increases. The university unrestricted net position on the fiscal year 2018 audited financial statements was reported as $615 million. I must emphasize that these are one-time funds, not an ongoing source of revenue. Additionally, unrestricted is not the same as uncommitted. The university must be prudent in setting aside funds for future critical expenditures. Of this unrestricted net position, 38% are invested in reserves, which are in long-term investments for future needs, such as saving for a large strategic initiative, such as a building. 32% are in designated funds, which are committed to fund things such as financial aid, academic initiatives, multi-year projects, and these funds also protect the university against unforeseen events. We have 8% for capital improvements, which is not only for new projects, but also for critical deferred maintenance projects. In the corporate world, deferred maintenance is budgeted annually as an expenditure. However, traditionally in higher education, these costs are funded from one-time funds. Faculty funds are those funds held by faculty and committed to individual faculty members to support research initiatives. Student services are funds held by units such as student affairs, recreation centers, and other student areas for use in later years for strategic initiatives or unforeseen expenses. Finally, the university is required to maintain a certain level of reserves to support our self-insurance program, and these funds make up 6% of our unrestricted net position. $615 million in unrestricted net position may seem like a large amount, but not when put in context to the size of Rutgers University. As an indicator, Rutgers benchmarks itself against peer institutions. In order to ensure comparable data, we use information obtained from Moody's Investor Services on spendable cash and investments as compared to each institution's operating expenses. The reality is that Rutgers' ratio of spendable cash and investments to our operating expenses is very low. As you can see, Rutgers' ratio is far below that of its peers. But what's this mean to us in our operations? It indicates to our rating agencies that we may be challenged with liquidity and having sufficient reserves. It puts us at risk of a lower rating when issuing debt, which could ultimately cost the university more money. This is something we monitor very closely, so we do not put further pressure on our revenue sources, such as tuition. Taking all this and many other things into consideration, university leadership is presenting a $4.6 billion budget to the Board of Governors for approval. The revenue budget not only takes into account a 2.9% rate increase for tuition fees, room and board, but it also considers changes in enrollment in each of our schools and growth in our research and healthcare initiatives. Our expense budget, which is also $4.6 billion, is primarily driven by compensation budgets, which include salary increases and additional positions that are essential to ensure excellence in our mission-critical activities, together with fringe benefit costs, which are estimated at 43.8%. Rounding out the budget are plant fund transfers, which are funds used to fund capital projects, and recognition of prior year net assets for expenses recognized in fiscal years 20, but that will be funded with revenues earned in a prior year. With that, Mr. Chair, I turn it over to you with the resolutions for the fiscal year 20 budget, fiscal year 20 tuition, fiscal year 20 mandatory student fees, and fiscal year 20 room and board rates. Additionally, there is a resolution for the approval of the fiscal year Rutgers Health Group budget, which is attached and consolidated into the fiscal year 20 total university budget within our BHS. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Detloff. Before you sit down, two things. One, Bob Lorchie is not leaving us today, and he's made that perfectly clear, and we're going to hold him to it. This is the last time that this group will be addressed by Kathy Detloff. As Chair of Finance and Facilities, I had the privilege of working with her remarkably distinguished predecessor, and I'm the author of the remark, "We will never find anybody as qualified, as able to replace her. I was wrong. Kathy Detloff has served this board, and particularly the Committee on Finance and Facilities, remarkably well for her tenure with us. She's not leaving us because she wants to. She's not leaving us because we want her to. She's leaving us because she has family and they live in Maryland, and she has a remarkable opportunity at the University of Maryland. And we wish her well. Please join me in thanking Kathy for a spectacular performance.
Thank you very much. It has been a privilege to serve my alma mater in this role for the last 2.5 years. But as Mr. Chair has said, I do have family back home, and now it is time to serve my home state. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Before we move on to consideration of the resolution, we have someone, a member of the public, who's requested to speak for 2 minutes on this agenda item. Mr. Charles Cradaville, please approach the microphone. You have 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Charles Cradaville, I'm the editor of community newspaper New Brunswick Today. And I just wanted to clarify, I only get 2 minutes, and the budget is how much? So I heard $4.6 billion.
Mr. Cradaville, we're not here to answer your questions. If you want to address questions to anybody, you can address them to our counsel, John Hoffman, offline.
Certainly. I'll just use my 2 minutes to speak about the board and the importance of the board. I do want to thank everyone for their service on the board and President Barchi as well. I think the board can do better, and I think that if the board is stewards of a $4.6 billion budget, we, the public, New Jersey taxpayers, Rutgers proud alumni like myself, current students, faculty, staff, deserve more from the board. And let me elaborate on what I mean by that. I'm a regular here. You guys probably, most of you know me by now, and I do come to a lot of government meetings around the city of New Brunswick and other places. And there's some things here that are just not ideal. So first of all, the time that you have your meetings, the location that you have your meetings, and the agenda for your meetings all could be better in ways that would improve the relationship with the public and encourage more dialogue. So, for example, I believe this board only meets 6 or maybe 7 times a year. I think that considering the huge undertaking it is to run the university, the huge amount of responsibility you have, the huge budget you have, I would like to see more meetings. And I would like to see those meetings in places that are convenient for members of the public to attend. This room is not the ideal room. It's not the best room that Rutgers owns on this campus to have these types of meetings. They should be in a larger room, and they should also be broadcast. You obviously have the technology to enable people who can't make it. Even if you are going to still have the meetings in the middle of the day, there's people all around the country that care about what this university does, and one easy way to connect with them and show the good work that the board does would be to broadcast these meetings. And just getting to your agenda here, the one thing that stands out about this board is that it's the only board that I attend where not only do you have to sign up in advance to speak at this microphone, but your speech is restricted. You're supposed to only speak, according to the board's bylaws, about agenda items. So you have to register for a specific agenda item. And that's, thank you. And so I would just ask respectfully that if the board has tremendous things that you guys oversee, and they're not always on the agenda. For instance, the announcement about the president's departure. Not something that is on this agenda, but something of great importance to the university. And there's a number of other things that aren't on your agenda. If you're only going to meet this frequently, I would encourage you to allow members of the public, just put an agenda item that says open comments from the public or comments about Rutgers, and allow the public to speak on matters that matter to them. So long as it's about Rutgers, you should be here to listen. This is an important board. You have an important function, and I'd like to see more from the board. So respectfully, I would ask you to consider that suggestion at your next meeting. I hope you can put an agenda item like that and consider the other things I brought up as well. Thank you.
I move the resolution for approval of the fiscal year 2019-2020 working budget as found under tab C, and I would ask for a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution is passed. Ms. Detlow presented for endorsement proposed resolutions to set tuition, mandatory student fees, room rates, and board rates for fiscal year 2019-2020. I'm not going to go through this because I know you all know this, but I'll do it quickly. Proposed tuition increases 2.9% for typical undergraduate programs, fee increases 2.9%. Proposed increases to housing, room rates, and residence education fees 2.9%. Proposed increases to dining board rates 2.9%. Tuition rates for other academic programs are identified in the table under tab D, as in David. I move the resolution for approval of tuition rates for fiscal year 2018-2019 as noted in tab D, mandatory student fees as noted in tab E, and room and board rates along with residence education fees as noted in tab F. And I would ask for a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Ms. Kathy Bramwell, Senior Vice President for Financial Administration for RBHS, presented for endorsement the proposed resolution approving the operating budget for Rutgers Health Group Incorporated. This budget is incorporated in the RBHS budget that is within the university consolidated budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. But it must be approved annually by the Board of Governors. I therefore move the resolution for approval of the operating budget for fiscal year 2019-2020 for the Rutgers Health Group as noted in tab G, and I would ask for a second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution carries. A couple of quick items for information. Ms. Michelle Narn, Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer, presented Rutgers Network Master Plan to the committee. The presentation provided an overview of the planning process, a detailed understanding of the challenges the university has with the current state of the network, and a roadmap over 10 years that will improve and safeguard the university from risk as it relates to the network. Mr. Michael Gower, Executive Vice President for Financial Administration and University Treasurer, gave an update on the administrative and student information systems projects, highlighting the One Source Service Center, Student Experience Improvement Initiative, and the Enterprise Customer Relationship Management Project. And that concludes the report of the Finance and Facilities Committee. Mr. Brown, the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics met on June 20th of this year at Winans Hall at 1 o'clock. After reviewing the conflict of interest statement, Dr. Christina Navarro gave us a leadership development strategic partnership update. More specifically, Dr. Navarro explained the role of the Rutgers Athletics Office for Leadership Development and Strategic Partnerships, noting that the office is committed to the personal enhancement, community engagement, and career leadership development of all of the divisions of student athletes during college and in their life after collegiate athletics participation via continual alumni engagement. She then gave examples of initiatives to ensure that student athletes become great ambassadors for the university. Dr. Navarro also detailed the LDSP's goals and 4 credit courses in each of the student athletes' time at Rutgers, focusing on mentorship, building leadership skills, and cultural and emotional intelligence to equip student athletes for today's workplace. Following that, Ms. Sarah Baumgartner, Deputy Director of Athletics, provided an update on the football marketing and ticket plan and introduced Mr. Brian Gottlieb, Associate Director of Public Relations Marketing, and Dr. and Mr. Joseph Raffinelli, Manager of Ticket Operations, to present on the division's fan research. Mr. Gottlieb discussed responses to the first data set and reviewed the efforts undertaken by the ticket office to reach out to customers. Mr. Gottlieb and Mr. Raffinelli then addressed strategies for reaching more fans and increasing season's ticket sales, and discussed single-game ticket sales strategies. We then moved on for a budget update. Mr. Michael Gower, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration and University Treasurer, provided a budget update to the committee. He discussed fiscal year and full year 19 year-end forecast and reviewed the full year 2020 budget. Then Mr. Paul Perrier, Senior Associate Athletic Director and Chief Compliance Officer, provided the committee with a compliance update. Mr. Perrier briefly explained the role of the compliance officer, reminding the committee that the division's focus on self-reporting violations to the NCAA is beneficial, as Rutgers is viewed positively by the NCAA for its compliance efforts. He also updated the committee on compliance issues at other institutions. Finally, Mr. Hobbs, Director of Intercollegiate Athletics in Brunswick, provided the committee with an abbreviated report stating that the division remains conscientious of their challenges and what needs to be done for the years ahead. He then highlighted some successes for the year, including Sports Illustrated naming of Rutgers basketball as the most improved team for the year, the wrestling program's 2 recent national wrestling champions, an impressive recruiting class, softball's first postseason since 1996, and the fact that field hockey and women's rowing were ranked for the first time. He concluded his report by mentioning various notable upcoming events, and the meeting was adjourned at approximately 4 p.m., and that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would now call on Governor Frank Hunley for the report of the Joint Committee on Investments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Joint Committee on Investments met on June 20th, 2019, here in Lyons Hall. The meeting began at 9 a.m. Following introductions, the conflict of interest declaration, there were none, and the confidentiality proceedings. The committee had an asset allocation review, which was presented by the Fund Evaluation Group and Mr. Jason McDonald. In addition to the classification changes discussed at the February meeting, Mr. McDonald and Mr. Hodson discussed a number of new classification adjustments and the rationale for those changes. Additional recommendations were to create new allocations categories named diversifying strategies and liquidity, which would replace risk reduction and real return, with assets in the replacement categories to be redistributed in their appropriate allocation buckets. The rationale for those changes was to create an asset allocation framework that allows more flexibility and better represents each strategy's role in the portfolio. Mr. McDonald and Mr. Hodson also discussed the recommended changes of increasing emerging market allocation from 6 to 8%, while decreasing international developed from 12 to 10%. All recommendations and changes were discussed thoroughly and endorsed. Following that, Fund Evaluation Group and Mr. McDonald discussed the manager recommendation and rebalancing recommendations. $12 million commitment to Edge Principle 4 real estate, and rebalancing recommendations of $10 million partial redemption from Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, full redemption of Colchester Global Bond Fund, addition to the Vanguard Total Bond Market Fund with Colchester proceeds, and $12 million addition to Sands Capital Emerging Growth, and $12.5 million to Vanguard Emerging Markets Stock Index. Following that, we had a portfolio update and discussion where Mr. McDonald reviewed the FY20 forward calendar of opportunities, as well as discussing long-term themes the team is focusing on, highlighting positive and negative developments in the portfolio and reviewing managers in each asset class. Market performance also was market performance and performance update was also discussed. And the performance of long-term investment pool LTIP as of March 31st, 2019 for 1, 3, and 5-year periods. The LTIP returned 3.2, 8.4, and 5.9% respectively. In other business, Mr. McDonald gave a staffing update and reviewed the bios of current interns with the committee. There was no discussion in executive session, and the meeting adjourned at approximately 12 p.m. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helby. I now call on Vice Chair Dr. Dorothy Cantor for the consent agenda.
Are there any items that members want to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, upon recommendation of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, I move that the board approve the item contained in the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Consent agenda is passed. Is there any old business to come before the Board of Governors? Is there any new business to come before the Board of Governors? Please may I have a motion for adjournment of this meeting?
So moved.
Second? We are adjourned.